Hello, this is Jackie B. Peterson, your host today on SoloPro Radio, and I look forward to another wonderful show talking with one of our creative solopreneurs. But in the meantime, I want to remind you that I'm the author of Better, Smarter, Richer, which outlines the 7 principles that are really important for you to follow if you are going to be in a solo business. And we know that this is the business model for the 21st century. So I hope you'll go to my website, bettersmarterricher.com, review the 7 principles, download the book, fill it out, work on it. It's got a fill-in-the-blanks workbook, and there's questions for you to answer. Or you can join one of our study groups. The next one is going to begin on September 2nd, 4 sessions, 2 hours apiece, where you work with a cohort on to share your answers and your insights and objectives and what you're doing with your enterprise. We'd love to have you in one of our cohorts. And just as a reminder, I'm going to be presenting the 7 principles at the Medford Small Business Development Center on September 30th. If you're in that part of the state, we'd love to have you join us there as well. So today I'm going to be talking with Gina Morris, and Gina is the first ever manager of BridgeLab at Pacific Northwest College of Art. BridgeLab was created to teach business basics to artists so they can support a life of professional and creative practice. We talk about this a lot on this show. Gina is no stranger to the arts. She has been a jewelry designer, has taught designer development workshops, and is also an accomplished performing artist herself. Formerly the assistant artistic director and principal dancer of a contemporary ballet company in Los Angeles, she continues to teach and choreograph for the Portland Opera and the Young People's Theater Project. She also has been a successful entrepreneur with the startup of an independent fashion boutique, Radish Underground. Love that name. Gina not only helped the store reach financial success, she also co-founded the West End Marketing CoOp to bring together the merchants near the boutique to band together to jointly promote them and market their enterprises. Gina is always one to find a way to solve a problem and overcome challenges with creative solutions. I love working with her. Hello, Gina.
Hello, Jackie. Thank you so much for having me. I love working with you as well.
Yes, it's great. It's really wonderful. Well, I'm so pleased that you could be on the show today. This is going to be fun. So start us out. Tell us about your background before your foray into the fashion boutique Radish Underground, like where you grew up, where you went to school, and what shaped you.
Of course. Well, I've been immersed in the arts my entire life. You could say that it's in my blood. My father is an extremely accomplished professional musician, guitar, mandolin, and fiddle. He's also a luthier and a recording engineer. My mom's a exhibition ballroom dancer and teacher, and my brother's a professional musician as well. So it was very much in our family. I actually grew up on the road with my dad's band and started school a year late. And then when I was 2, my mom put me directly into ballet, and I went on to be in the Northwest Ballet Company, and then, as you mentioned earlier, went into Metropolis when I was at school in Los Angeles at Loyola Marymount University, and continued to have a really great professional career there. When I moved up to Portland, I switched gears a little bit and wanted to take care of my body a little more, so I got more into yoga. Ended up being a manager at the Lululemon in the Pearl District, and they have a really excellent training program for their managers. And once I sort of had this management and retail business understanding under my belt, I went back to this idea that my best friend and I had way back when we were tweens at the ballet bar about living in the same city and owning a business together. And at the time, we had no idea what that was going to ever look like, but we just knew that we wanted to make that dream a reality. So Celeste Sipes, who is my business partner and the full-time manager and co-owner of Radish Underground, we decided, now's the time. I have this management experience. I had a candle line that I was making and selling and wholesaling. She had a clothing line that she was wholesaling around the country. And we spent about 1.5 years on our business plan and really, really worked hard to learn the things that we didn't know, and opened Radish at maybe the worst possible time, actually. Our doors opened on the worst day of the economy since the Great Depression, but we have persevered, and it's 5.5 years now that we've had the store open in the West End, and things have gone really well. So it's been a crazy, crazy journey, and now this transition into working at PNCA and running BridgeLab has been really a fulfillment for me of supporting both sides of my character, the entrepreneurial development, but also supporting artists in entrepreneurial development. How do you become a creative professional?
That's just fantastic. I talk a lot and think it's time for us to bring the entrepreneurial spirit forward in the creative community. It's just time for that. And as somebody said to me this week, entrepreneurship itself is very creative, and whether you're practicing in a creative field or not, just the act of entrepreneurship is creative. Yeah.
Undoubtedly, and that's such a good point too, Jackie, because it's really all artists are entrepreneurs. They just don't realize it. And really, I think it's a language barrier more than anything. It's just you don't recognize that when you have the creative brain that can solve problems, you've got half the battle dialed right there. Then you just need the resources and tools and a plan. Move forward with those resources, tools, and a plan. You've got the hard part covered. So it's interesting. I think shifting that perspective is really important.
I also think you're right about the language. I think when we think entrepreneurship, we think, Standard Oil or, United Airlines or some great big huge company, and we don't think of our little small enterprises, small but mighty and small but powerful, as
and you still definitely think of a suit. Yeah, you think of a suit somehow. In your brain, you think of maybe it's just one guy in a suit instead of a boardroom full of guys in suits. But it's not the image that a creative professional that I've experienced really has of themselves. So shifting the way they see it and the way they talk about it.
So let's spend a little time talking about Radish Underground and how you helped grow that boutique. You and Celeste working together. How'd you help grow it? What happened?
Oh my gosh. Well, we focus on independent designers. So we carry small independent lines from around the world. We like to say it's local lines from all over the world. What we're looking for is the story. We're really concerned sort of in this order with the why it's made, who makes it, how it's made, and where it's made. But more, what's the whole cohesive story about this product? Why is it something that you want to have? Why is it something that your money should go toward? And how can we tell you that story? So we spend a lot of time with our customers and a lot of time with our designers working with them to make sure that we're communicating what's so special about these individuals. And when you bring all of those things together, it really makes the store very unique. I hate it when people say very unique. Unique. It is one of a kind. It
is very unique.
Thank you. But it's one of a kind. It's something that we really wanted to establish in Portland. Portland has this creative economy and culture that is so vibrant and interesting, and there's so much going on that we really wanted to highlight local designers specifically, but not close ourselves off to other small designers around the world. So we featured, for the first 2 or 3 years, we featured a local clothing designer, jewelry designer, and visual artist every first Thursday with an opening in the store. And that really got the momentum going and got the word out about what we were doing, and we fostered a lot of questions. An example would be the musician that came to play our piano started talking to the jewelry designer that was going to make the tie, who talked to the visual artist who's going to screen print the band's logo on the tie to wear in their next show. And so things like that would sort of organically come to play in our events or just among the people that met each other at Radish. And so it's really cool, and we've tried to think of fun ways to promote the idea of shopping and putting your money towards something that you can feel really good about. So we do interesting events like Mini Golf May. We just closed our 6th annual Mini Golf May, where you can cut for a discount in our window display because we have a different artist-installed miniature golf hole in the window all month long. So we're, again, trying to be a little more playful and creative and crafty, and feature local artists in that way too. Why not put something completely unexpected in your window display? It's not only good for business; it's good for the community. It just fosters great conversation, and people are excited and they want to know more and they want to participate. It's really been great. It's been a wonderful experience.
Well, it sounds like you created a very fun and wonderful atmosphere where people are lighthearted, and joyful, and at the same time surrounded by beautiful things and beautiful fashion and hand-picked items, they aren't going to find anywhere else, and tell a story.
And they're being educated on it too. Yeah, they're being educated on why it's wonderful and who they're supporting and what, and really the power of their purse, the power of their wallet. What is that going toward and why? And it's great. We love it.
So I know to support the store that you started the West End Marketing Co-op. Talk about that. That's a whole other adventure.
It's a whole other adventure, yeah. So about 2.5 years into business, we were looking around and saying, we feel like for the most part we're doing the best that we can in all of the areas. We're working really hard and we're pushing as hard as we can. So what do we need now? Now we need more bodies in the store to see all of this great work that we're doing. So my thought was, how do I bring more traffic at large to the neighborhood? How do we draw people here from other parts of town, from other parts of the world? And so I wasn't totally sure how I wanted to do that. I had it rolling around in my mind for a while, and the catalyst was really when PICA, the Portland Institute for Contemporary Art, moved in across the street from Radish on 10th Avenue. And their former communications director, Patrick Leonard, reached out to people in the neighborhood to just sort of see who was doing what and who wanted to do what. And, of course, I immediately wrote back about a 3-page email, and we knew that we were going to be good friends for the rest of the time. And he and I got together and decided this is great. We should brand the neighborhood, make it official, make a walking map, make a website, see how many businesses we can get to all pitch in for a really low cost individually to actually accomplish a rather large campaign that would go all up and down the West Coast directing traffic back to the neighborhood. And we got even more specific about it where, we said if it's going to be an ad, for example, in Seattle Met during a food issue, we're going to promote the restaurants first. It won't say a specific name of a restaurant, but it will talk about the food. What we're doing there is cross-promoting in a way that you bring the foodies, and then they also get to see the record shops and the boutiques and all of the other stores going on. And then when it's Fashion Week, we're promoting fashion, but then that also introduces, hey, you came to this boutique, but next door is a world-class restaurant that can't be found anywhere else. So it works really, really well.
You're talking about one of the major principles of successful solopreneurship, which is building a team and collaborating. Because none of us can do all of this stuff ourselves. So you pulled everybody together and you all collaborated, and because you were all collaborating around a shared idea and a shared desire, you created a big voice, and that big voice got heard. People said, oh, I can now see that the West End is a neighborhood. I can see all the members of it. What a groovy place to go. This sounds like really fun. I want to attend this. And I think I want to go down and do miniature golf in the window to get this.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That sort of collaboration is really, it's something that I think it's really vitally important to every business and every community. And we're lucky in Portland in that other business owners are very willing to do that. There is less of a sense of competition, more of a sense of collaboration just in general. Even if there is competition, it's more about, okay, how do we just pick our battles and find our audience. Nobody wants to be necessarily trying to compete for each other's specific audience unless there's a crossover potential. We want to actually be deeply entrenched in our niche and feel really good about where we are, and then be able to say, oh, I don't carry that, but my neighbor does. How about you go over there and check out what they've got? And that's also something that came out of this that was really kind of magical, people being able to say, I don't have this, but my neighbor does. You would be surprised at the shock on tourist faces when they hear that, because you just don't hear that in other cities when you go into a store that someone tells you to go somewhere else if they can't serve you in some way. And the opposite is true, of course. People coming to us saying, oh, so-and-so sent me from another store. I mean, it's a reciprocal relationship.
So a question of this is, did that, you talked about tourists, and I know that Radish has been very successful in attracting and bringing a tourist business in. Did the fact that you all banded together make it, the West End, more attractive to tourists, where they said, here's a place where I can walk through. It's got a variety of things, and, I can go shop in one particular area. I don't have to be running all over the place. It's not far from my downtown hotel. I mean, did that, did you create a voice that was more attractive then to tourists coming to town?
Yeah, undoubtedly. And it's not, we can't take all the credit at all, but we certainly did. There was sort of a tipping point that happened in the West End, and we pushed really hard for that. And I think a lot of the work that was done previous to us even being there, from Francis May and Covet and the Ace Hotel and a couple of the other stores that really anchored that area, before we got there, they really got the momentum going to start. But most certainly this campaign had a huge effect. And I also personally did walking tours around the neighborhood of every group of journalists that came into town for that summer that we started the project. So we definitely saw press coming from Travel and Leisure and New York Times and Condé Nast and a couple of other major publications that really put the words, the West End in Portland, come to this neighborhood, on print and really definitely boosted business, no doubt.
So you created activity and energy, and it attracted the press. And
yeah.
press then brought customers, that brought increased business. What a wonderful thing to do. Also very entrepreneurial.
Thank you. I tried to put trees as well. I did a greening project where I planted 11 trees around the Pittock block, which is just challenging to keep them ship-shape. But it was also trying to improve the physical neighborhood itself, wanting to make the street that we're on more attractive to walk down. So thinking about it not just in terms of, okay, we're advertising it, but then once you get here, you want to stay here. You want to walk. You want to follow this path. You want to turn this corner. You want to keep going deeper into the neighborhood. So thinking about it on a real physical level as well.
But that's fabulous. That's absolutely fabulous. So let me shift gears a little bit. One of the things you're known as is being the lady in the red dress on a YouTube that went viral. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so my really, really good friend, Isaac Lamb, proposed to one of my other really, really good friends, Amy Beth Frankel, in what became known as Isaac's live lip dub wedding proposal, and was a major viral video, internet sensation a couple years ago. And it's the one with all of us dancing down the street, and she's sitting in the back of the car with her headphones on. It was the first of those series, not the first lip dub, but the first proposal in that way that got huge. And, you know, it was really unexpected. It was a true moment of real, authentic love for this couple and a community coming together and saying, we want to make a big impact. We really want to do something special for Amy. We did it on such a short timeline, and everybody had to keep the secret. And there were about 50 different people there. And such a short period of time that we really did. We only had one rehearsal, and it just captured such a beautiful, real interaction between performers and someone that they just truly admire and respect and love. And that spark is what really, I think, caught everybody's attention. And the things that have come out of that, I suppose, have been, wonderful relationships with people that I never expected and getting to meet people. I've been flown to New York and Vancouver to speak about the video, the process, and what we did, and talked at several conferences here in Portland, and getting to see Isaac and Amy have fun and be in New York and be on the Today Show and be thought of as this wonderful romantic couple that they truly are. And Amy has since retired from performance and has finished her nursing school and is now actually a full-time nurse at the VA. And Isaac is still performing and directing, and he is a member of Third Rail Theater Company, and he is wonderful. He'll also be hosting the Grammy Awards on this coming Monday, I believe. So if you are a theater artist in Portland and you're going to the Grammys, Isaac's going to be the host this year, and it's going to be a blast. If I wasn't going to be at a conference in Chicago, I would be there absolutely. But, so they're wonderful. It was wonderful. It was such a shock and surprise. We did not expect that to happen at all. It was really, truly just a proposal for a friend. And we recorded it so she could see it later because we knew that in the moment she wouldn't be able to really absorb it. But it became this great moment of song, dance, and romance ricocheting around the world. And we're really all so very proud that we had that impact and that we've touched so many lives.
Well, people must have had a wonderful time doing it and, making it happen and being part of something so special. And it sounds like it was almost off the cuff. I mean, it just kind of fell together, even though you were directing it and leading it. Like people kind of fell into line and knew what they were supposed to do and just did it.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it's more that they were just willing to go the extra mile on their own and absorb a lot of information in a short amount of time. We absolutely had a plan, and Isaac knew what he wanted as a director, and he had it laid out in an outline of exactly who he wanted to come in where, at what point in the song, some of the gimmicks like the dancing Jews to cover kind of a weird lyric, and the marching band, which is a nod to the three of us having done a production of Sweet Charity a few years back that won a bunch of awards. And so there were moments that it was very, very planned, and I absolutely choreographed it from start to finish, but what I did was write a transcript and take a video of myself doing every individual part and emailed all of that to everybody. So they had a couple days to think about it, and then we had one day where we spent about 3 hours on a Saturday, and people came and went and learned what they could. And then it really was kind of on the fly, because as soon as we sent Amy on the goose chase to make sure she wasn't there, we got everybody in the street and practiced with the actual car a couple times so that we had the timing down of the car, and that was a little bit of we're just going to do it a couple times and hope it works. And then it did, and it was great. It was really great. So there was certainly a lot of just doing what you wanted, but we planned it out.
Good. That's one of the parts that I think that you are so good at, is maybe making something look like it's very spontaneous, but underneath it there's a strong plan, and there was rehearsal, and there was, instructions, and there was showing people things, and then it just kind of happened. It happened organically, but all that planning that is underneath it. And I think there are a lot of things in the world that work that way, that there's a very strong structure underneath, and then there's, what happens out on the front end, out in the world, that appears like, oh my goodness, this just happened,
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And that's good showmanship too. You don't want to let them see you sweat, but you're going to sweat.
So that makes you, this experience that you have, I just think makes you absolutely perfect for the job you have now. You've become the first manager of the PNCA BridgeLab. So why don't you talk to our audience first about PNCA and who they are and what led them to create a center like BridgeLab?
Sure. So PNCA stands for the Pacific Northwest College of Art, and we are an accredited independent college of art and design that's over 100 years old. So it actually started back in 1909 in the Portland Art Museum. It was a studio art school primarily, and evolved away from the museum into its independent status and location here in the Pearl District in the 90s, and that was when they also started to evolve early aughts into the MFA program. So it's really started to grow and develop on its own in this beautiful way. And we're getting ready to make another major transition, which will be in December of this year, or possibly January, moving to the new Arlene and Harold Schnitzer Center for Art and Design, which is the old post office, the 511 building over on Broadway. We're in the middle of a massive renovation of the building, and the entire school will be moving between the first and second semesters of this year. So a big transition and growth is happening. And in general, there is a shift in the way that the world is looking at higher education, and specifically education in art and design, and getting design degrees and fine art degrees. And what does that mean for the economy? What does that mean for getting jobs? And what does that mean to the degree? What is the value of the degree? How can we increase that value? How can we shift with the changing times? So the idea of BridgeLab really actually came out of an MFA thesis, this idea that a bridge to the professional world that is vibrant and active while you're still a student. So providing opportunities, providing one-on-one advising, and talking about what is your vision, what are your goals, how do you want to get where you want to get, and really bringing the idea of business basics to this audience of creative minds, and making it accessible. Again, talking about the language, just shifting the language enough to say, look, you really already are totally geared up and ready to be an entrepreneur and go out and have a successful career. You can either have a service, you can have a product, you can do a combination of both, you can do so many very different things, but at the end of the day, you're still going to need to know how to run yourself as a business and be able to function in that world to be sustainable in your career. So BridgeLab was really created to support this idea of entrepreneurial development and resources for a life of creative professional practice.
Oh, that's fabulous.
And that's how I got in. Yeah, it's great for me because I can relate to the artist so well, I can relate to the student so well, and I am out there and still very much doing the work. It's been a really rewarding opportunity, and it's been so very well received. I've just had overwhelmingly positive feedback and enthusiasm.
Well, talk about that.
The faculty and the staff.
Yeah, talk about that. I mean, how are the students and the alums and the faculty? I mean, what has been the reception? This is a big change that is going on in education, not just that
it's a big
PNCA
change
that you talk about. People, the world is saying, well, that's great that you're providing all this education, but how can these? Are you helping people come into the world and be part of the world and fit into the world and be able to support themselves and be able to bring their ideas forth? I mean, is that what you're doing? Yeah. And show us. Schools, if you are valid, then you have to be doing this. And a lot of schools are really struggling with that concept. So I'm thrilled that this has been received this way. So talk about that, about some. I mean, what kind of feedback have you gotten?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's been overwhelmingly positive from students and alumni. I mean, there's no doubt that this is necessary. That just having a department that is connected to our career services and connected to alumni relations and connected to continuing education and connected to all of these other departments that help in all of these areas, but with the specific focus of helping you get your ducks in a row for being a business unto yourself. Or if you're going to go work within another company, what does it mean to work within a company, and how can you translate the skills that you have into a language that is appropriate to that company? How do you pitch yourself to a company? What is a pitch? How do you talk about yourself? How do you read a contract? Do you know how to do your taxes? Do you know how to invoice for the work that you're doing? Do you have a structure for pricing the work that you do? All of those things are essential no matter what career path you end up taking out of school. And even after you graduated, the alumni have gone on and done several things, and they've realized that their career is going to evolve and they're going to come up against challenges and need additional resources. And to be able to turn back around to come to their school for free for always and say, hey, BridgeLab, I'm now doing this, and I need this piece. I don't know what to do about this piece. We can say, great. Let me talk to you about it. Maybe I know the answer, but if I don't, I might know someone that does. If I don't, I'll help you find somebody. It's going to be a resource that everybody else is probably going to need at some point too. So it's evolving as we go. It's certainly not something that we've figured out how to do perfectly, and it's going to continue to evolve, and the way that we approach this will hopefully only get more effective, and I'm really hoping that we can provide something that is not only beneficial primarily to our students and alumni, but that can also be then translated to artists, designers, and makers all over the world. Eventually, we would like to get our education into an online sphere. We are thinking about that and working on that now. It will be a while. Everybody's got to be patient, but we are definitely thinking about that. How do we think about not only the way we're shifting the education, but the way that we present the education, and how do we make this experience of PNCA more accessible to a broader audience?
Wonderful. So what kind of things are students and alumni asking for? You talked about taxes, pricing, invoicing. I mean, so this is really very practical nuts and bolts thinking about business. Is that what they're
definitely.
For?
And surprisingly, actually, yeah, I think that has been a little bit of a surprise to me, and certainly people that I've talked with about it. That I think there's an assumption that artists don't want structure, because structure seems somehow oppressive or stifling, right. But that's not the case. That's not what I'm finding. It's exactly the structure that they want. They just want the structure presented to them in a way that actually makes sense. So finding different ways to explain the information, show case studies, show success stories of actual creative professionals, tell their story, meet these people, bring them in for a conversation and say, hey, how did you do it? Bring someone else in. How did you do it? You did it kind of differently. Another really important thing that I think they're asking and learning about is that there isn't one answer, that it is a matter of gathering all of your facts and all of the information and evaluating the best you can with the information that you have and making the choice and the resources that you have, but knowing that the next person you ask will probably tell you something different and would have a totally different way of approaching it, so that you need to take that time and absorb, is that right for me? Am I going to then do it this way? Or I'll take that into consideration, but I'm going to stick with the path that I've created because that's clicking and working for me. So this idea of not only being aware that everybody's going to give you different information and you have to keep a grain of salt on you at all times, and also that you don't have to have all of the answers. You can reach out to resources. You shouldn't be the expert in everything, because you're the expert in the thing that you do that makes you special. Reaching out and finding those that can support you and collaborating and finding your team. And like you say, Jackie, who do you have at your table? Who are you bringing to your table to be your support group? Teaching those soft skills and communication and collaboration soft skills is just as important as the basics of learning how to use social media as a marketing tool, or learning how to do your taxes, something really dry. That was the most well-attended class of all of last semester.
Really?
Taxes.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
I wanted to know how to do their taxes because it's something that people just don't talk about really for artists in that way. It's
right.
assumed that it's going to be sort of a murky gray area, and you may or may not ever get any money back, or lots of money. But we need to demystify it. It's not quite so cloak and dagger as it may seem at first glance. Wow,
this is so valuable, and as I said, we're seeing it, from my standpoint, where I'm, work part-time for the Small Business Development Center and see so many people coming out of education programs of all kinds, whether it's, you know, health professionals or business professionals or design professionals or computer professionals. And, you know, it used to be that they would gain their technical skills at the school where they went, and then they went out into the world and they were hired by some company, usually the big companies, who did a tremendous amount of training, you know, had them as interns or new hires, and they got their training basically on the job by learning within a business how that business operated and how they invoiced and, you know, how they priced and all those, how to get a customer. And, you know, that's not happening anymore. It just is not happening. Businesses are not hiring, you know, teams of young graduates and putting them to work. You know, they're operating on a very skinny basis, and they just aren't running that way. So more and more people are saying, boy, I've got to do this myself. I've got to have the skills myself, not only to be a great graphic designer or a great fabric designer or a great clothing designer. I've also got to have the skills to know how to go get a customer and how to price my work and how to find a team to work with and how to collaborate with them and how to bill my customer and how to collect my money, how to put it in the bank and how to budget and how to do my taxes. Wow.
Yeah, it seems quite overwhelming. And, you know, it can be. It certainly can be. And I'm trying very hard and trying different and new ways every day of how to structure that, how to introduce that. That's definitely a challenge that I've discovered, this idea that so at what point do we engage the students? The first 2 years, really, it's not really the time. It's that space where they have just got, especially in art school, they've come here, they're ready to fail hard, they're into the big conceptual stuff, and I don't really want to smack them in the face with the real world yet. But I also don't want the information to get buried or lost in the upper level classes where you're thinking hard about your thesis and about the large-scale projects and work that you're doing when you're into that level of education. So finding that middle ground where there's introduction, like, hey, this isn't so scary, it's something you need to be aware of. Here's some fun way of engaging with this. Here's an example of a real person that you can be inspired by. Oh, and by the way, here's an actual craft and a skill, and then building upon that. So it's tricky to find that perfect place and that perfect time to bring the information in so that it becomes embedded and just a part of what it means to be a professional creative and not necessarily, oh my gosh, I've got this degree now, I've been an artist my whole life, and all of a sudden I have to learn this whole other skill set. That's the shocking thing, when you feel like you have to just become a whole other person. We want to make this a more holistic approach.
That's fantastic. So talk about some of the methodology that you're using. You're having seminars, you're having people come and share their expertise with, you know, talking about their own situation. And do you also plan to use, like, some of the e-tools like webinars and teleseminars as part of BridgeLab? I mean, how are you?
Definitely.
You know, what kind of form are you giving these programs?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the form that it's taken so far, and again, this will evolve. Already I have new ideas, but so far we've presented BridgeLab lessons, which are bite-sized chunks, bite-sized skills or entrepreneurial essentials that you need to know, 2 or 3 hour little workshops. We've also done a series of lunch lessons that are just 1 hour at lunch. Bring your snack, come have a conversation or learn one single skill. And fireside forum interviews. So having myself interviewing someone that's a creative professional, a local business person, a successful fine artist, whoever we found that we were inspired by, have a conversation with them, open that up to an actual conversation with the audience. So definitely less of a presentation, getting rid of a podium. And then what I really found is that when the cameras go off, after the actual interview is done, the real meaty and juicy conversation happens. So I'm really leaning toward the idea of starting to bring in these experts in the same way, but sub rosa. Let's bring them into the room where what happens in here stays in here, and you can ask the real hard questions and get the real hard answers and find out what it's really like to be a creative professional in Portland. And you're under the rose like they are in Rome, and they don't talk about it outside of that room. Can we do that with artists? So I'd like to expand that a little bit and continue to have some of our live workshops, of course. And then also I'm promoting other opportunities in town. So there's several other creative professional development resources all over town. SBDC has programs, RAC has classes, Makers Nation, ADX, Portland Made, all of these places have great workshops going on for creative professionals. So if we're not having an event, for example, over the summer, we aren't doing live events, we will promote the other things that you can be going to so that we're growing this community. And as far as using the online tools, I am absolutely thinking in that direction. So far, we've put our Fireside Forum interviews online, which you can watch on our YouTube channel. It's BridgeLab PNCA. It's our YouTube handle. Or all of the workshops are available for our alumni and students internally as an archive. So we are building a thriving digital archive that they can go back and reference. So every bit of content that BridgeLab produces is available as a reference point for our internal community. As far as the external community, when I do develop some online courses and some Skype classroom classes, we will then open that up to the public as well. So we're getting there, and I'm really excited about where that can take us.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. And what really resonates with me is for BridgeLab to be a resource for the students and the alumni, not just say, we're the best, you have to take our class, but to say, here's a whole bunch of programs that are available. This is when they're available. We can show this to you. Students have taken this and have really enjoyed it. I mean, that's a tremendous role for BridgeLab to take. I mean, that's the bridge part, right? That you're also
it is the bridge. What else is going on out there, and then how do we bring stuff back in? And not only that, I'm also thinking about BridgeLab in terms of supporting the community in other ways. So, for example, I've been talking with some of the big companies like, okay, here's an example. It's not necessarily going to happen, but what about the designers at Adidas that have an awesome opportunity to come brush up their skills or learn a new design and development skill by coming and taking some of our classes, say the Collaborative Design MFA program. Come take a design thinking class, or let us take you through one of our critique processes and see how that can improve the critique process that you go through with your product development line. How can we at BridgeLab support the working professionals out in the world, bring them in, and then utilize that to enrich even further what the students experience? So we really want to think of the bridge going both directions. Right now I'm trying to establish this end, but we want it to really move in and out freely.
That's very exciting, because I loved hearing you say that, because that was really my next question is, how do you think that BridgeLab is going to affect PNCA's role and growing reputation and growing presence in the community? I know it's making this big move of, into a new location, and it's probably going to be much more visible to more of the community than it has been. And it sounds to me like BridgeLab can be one of the ways that PNCA, presents itself in the world. And so do you think, it sounds like you have a vision for that happening.
I do, for sure. I mean, I think that just the nature of what BridgeLab represents means that we are out in the community, and I'm out there talking about what we're doing and trying to gather mentors and gather resources and find professionals that are wanting to share and impart the knowledge that they won the hard way onto the next generation of creatives and student artists, because really there is a responsibility that we have as a creative culture to support the next generation so that we can be the next thought leaders, that we can get out there and change the world with all of the tools at our disposal, a whole brain thinker that is fully prepared to get out there and take the challenges as they come and attack them creatively. And so I think definitely BridgeLab is going to be a presence in the community and will represent PNCA and the students and the amazing work that they are doing, and continue to try to be a conduit between the two and really make that creative corridor thrive.
So it sounds like you see more people, and of course your own students and alumni, starting enterprises based on their creative talents. I mean, is that true? Do you see that happening more than it used to? There's more places for this?
I do see that. I do see more and more, and I think I will continue to see more and more as the resources become available. I think it's, not a question at all that Portland is full of entrepreneurs. I think there's I think you told me, Jackie, the percentage, something like 90% of businesses in Portland are entrepreneur or small businesses.
Yeah. And yes, I think it's higher than 90%.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's shocking.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are multitudes of small businesses, and of those, there is a certain portion that are creative small businesses. And there's a large chunk that are just creative professionals in general. They are out there doing creative work within a company or on their own as a freelancer or contract worker for multiple other businesses. I think that's happening definitely in Portland, and also across the country. It's starting to become more evident. I think part of that is a shift in the way that we look at business and what we want out of our lives in general. Looking at the world has changed. The internet has changed the way that we look at education and the way that we are going to communicate with one another and work with one another going into the future. And so there's more opportunity to put yourself out there as an individual, as a brand, have an audience, have a business. There's no longer the restriction of having to hang your sign out on Main Street. You can now put your sign up on Twitter and have a following from around the globe if you just know how to look for your audience.
Isn't it amazing?
Completely different world.
Isn't it just amazing
it really is.
How that's happened?
It totally is.
I did a program for the Oregon Coast Council for the Arts a couple of weeks ago down in Newport, and one of the artists said, "Oh my goodness, it can be very difficult to sell your artwork in this community." And I said, "Don't you have your website? If you have your website, you know, you're selling your artwork to the world. And I want you to think of it that way. It has nothing to do or very little to do with just your own community. You're reaching out to the entire world. And as you think about your marketing and how you're going to, you know, promote your business, you've really got to be thinking from a global point of view, because that's what the internet does for you. It puts you out there."
Mm-hmm.
She said,
and that's what everybody else is doing too, so you definitely need to be doing that.
Yes. So it makes it even more important to brand yourself. So all of the creatives who are involved in branding are ever more in demand. And, you know, because we're each becoming our brand of one in what we're doing and in our specific offering. And, you know, how do you brand yourself? Well, you brand yourself with visual art. You brand yourself with verbal art. You brand yourself with musical art. You brand yourself with performing art, you know, and all of those things come into what every single business needs to be out there and distinguishing itself in the global community. I mean, I just kind of see no end for creatives to find work and opportunities to not only express themselves for their own well-being, but also to sell their services to other people. You know, we've all got to do this, and you know, that makes it about 7 billion customers out there.
Not too shabby place to start at all.
Yeah, it's quite something. So I just love it. I love the opportunities that we have right now that are going on. It's pretty wonderful. So, you know what? Just wax philosophical here for a minute, Gina. So, what do you see after your months and months with BridgeLab as some of the barriers that creatives are facing in finding financial success? You know, I'm ready to create a little badge with an X over the concept of starving artists. So, do you think that we're getting rid of that concept, but that there's still some barriers? Can you talk about that a little bit from your standpoint and what you're seeing?
Sure. Oh yeah, I mean, we have to actively kill the starving artist. Period. Just as
we do.
A group, as a
stake
creative
in the
culture,
heart.
Yeah, stake in the heart. Just a beautiful handcrafted, carved stake in the heart. Just get it in there and kill it dead, because we cannot survive if it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, which is what it is when you let the language or the unknown stop you from taking the steps to get yourself stable and successful. So in other words, don't let the words money and business turn your brain so far around and into this mythological place of sellout land that you aren't going to be able to eat. You will literally starve. And that's actually where the phrase comes from, that you end up first starving, then in the hospital, then in the morgue. It's from La Boheme. Like, that's not something we would like to actually have happen. We would like to be thriving artists. We want to take all of the juice and energy and raw capacity and just make sure that the vehicle takes it somewhere. Take that 2 seconds, the time to stop, sit down, then give yourself about an hour and really think about your business and really think about where you're going, where you want to be, what do you have on your side, what do you still need, reaching out to the people that are around you that can give you feedback, listen to the feedback, move forward. I mean, there's many things that stop people, but I really, it's the language that comes up more and more and more and more. The word money and the word business turn people off so shockingly. Like they can't even function beyond that. But if you talk about sustaining your career and instead of business, talk about maybe, instead of business, talk about career. Instead of money, talk about your success. Then all of a sudden it's a different conversation. And approaching your success and approaching your it's not even a dream, because a dream makes it feel like it's not tangible. It's not that. You're building something very solid and very real and very it's something that needs to have a little TLC, a whole lot of moxie, and that you are going to succeed if you keep moving forward. You cannot let little words like business and money get in your way. Tackle those words. What do they mean to you? Why are they so scary to you? How are you going to get them to work for you? And we can
Why do they carry that negative weight with you? I mean, that's
the negative weight, because all it is that self-fulfilling prophecy that we have to.
Yeah, I was talking with an artist. I was talking with an artist yesterday in my new study group for Better, Smarter, Richer, and he said, I did a lot of thinking about that concept of starving artist and, this negation of wanting money, and he said, what I see is that the real dislike isn't money, it's greed. And I said, I think you're right. I think you've really, put the handle on it, that it's not the money itself. It's when we get greedy about money and the things that people are led to do under the, the feeling of greed or, having to acquire more money than is useful to your life. And that involves taking it from other people and, using up your time in ways you don't really want to. And I think
and that's a really good point right there, too, Jackie, using up your time in a way you don't really want to. I think that's great. That's such a good point about greed. Also, I think people have a totally legitimate fear of losing or dampening their passion for their art if their art becomes the thing that they have to do and it becomes drudgery. So also being very aware that that's real, and you want to find the balance of this is the kind of work that I do that sustains my soul, and this is the kind of thing that I must do. There just isn't a choice. If there's a way to leverage a portion of that to be the thing that sustains you, excellent. If there's another element or skill that you have that can be the thing that you do in your quote-unquote day job, but you're utilizing your skill and you're moving forward on a path that is leading you where you want to be, and you've left a space for all of your passion and your other work that you want to do, you're still being a business and moving forward and not selling out. You don't have to just drop everything that has to do with your passion and turn the total opposite and flip burgers just to say that you're a starving artist and that you're then legitimate as an artist. Instead, why not be a successful creative professional where you have your art and this work that you do, and if you can make that be your direct path, excellent. And if you can find other ways to leverage your skills and your unique ability, that's even better. And it's a richer, more vibrant life, and I think that's what's really going to change if we can kill the starving artist and become the creative thought leaders in the next generation.
And the thriving artist. I like the thriving artist.
Yes, the thriving artist, yes.
Yes, yeah. It turns the starving artists into thriving artists. And as you know, in Better, Smarter, Richer, I talk about the sweet spot being where passion, talent, and money intersect. That's the spot where you want to be, and they're all in balance, or they're all optimized, that's what you're passionate about, it's what you're really good at, and what has a flow of money that is going to sustain your art and sustain your life. That's the sweet spot for your enterprise. I mean, we want to be right there. And that's thriving to me, that one spot.
Yeah.
So we're coming close to the end of our time, and I want to know, so what words of advice do you have for young artists who want to make the art they love the basis for, a successful, thriving enterprise?
I would say always be strong on vision and flexible on details. Know where you're going and where you want to get there, but don't be afraid to let go of what's not working. And take the time to stop and evaluate every once in a while and say, am I still doing what I want to be doing? Am I going in the direction that I want to be going? And do I have the resources that I need to do it? Am I trying to do it all on my own? Or do I have too many people, too many cooks in the kitchen. Just evaluate where you are as you go. Keep that vision really crystal clear in your mind where you're trying to get to, and your goals are really clear. And how you get there can be this really great journey that I think artists want also. They don't want the straight and narrow. So by all means, take that crazy path, but know where you're headed, and we can help you make that plan.
That's fabulous. That's absolutely fabulous. So I know that some of our listeners are going to want to contact you. This has been a wonderful discussion, and your energy and your passion for what you're doing, and your creativity just pour out all the time, Gina, and people love listening to hear what you have to say. You have a lot to say. So I know people are going to want to contact you. So how can they get hold of you?
Oh, thank you, Jackie. Well, you can get a hold of BridgeLab. All of our social media handles are the same. It's all BridgeLab, PNCA, on Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram, and YouTube. You can find us at our website, pnca.edu/BridgeLab. And if you want to sign up for our newsletter, you can do that from our website and also from our Tumblr page, and that's a way to know what's going on throughout the summer until our events start back up in the fall. We will have an Oregon Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts clinic on August 8th, and I'll have more information about that soon. So if you stay tuned to our social media channels, I'll give you a little bit more info on that. But it's an opportunity for creatives to have an hour with a lawyer to talk about anything you want for $20. Very, very worthwhile. So,
how fantastic.
So that's going to happen in August, and I'll have more details coming up about that. My personal Twitter handle is the Bellinanator, TheBellinator. Don't get me started on why I have a long, confusing Twitter handle. I do. But that's how you can find me. And also Radish PDX for Radish Underground, or WePDX for West End. We are currently fixing the West End website. We know that there's a bug in it right now, but we're working on it. And I am just so thankful to you, Jackie, for having me on your show and all of the years of advice and support and laughs and love and everything that you have given to me and to Celeste and to every other creative that's been in your presence. Thank you.
Well, thank you. What an honor to hear that said. I love the creatives. And I want to thank you all for tuning in today and remind you this is Jackie B. Peterson. I'm the author of Better, Smarter, Richer, 7 Business Principles for Solos, Creative, and Encore Entrepreneurs. And I just hope that you will go to my website and take a look at the 7 principles for the business model for the 21st century, which is solopreneurship. This is the fastest growing business model. And I want to remind you that just starting hanging out your shingle is probably not enough. There's some things that you need to do to not be a traditional business, not follow the advice of traditional businesses, and to be successful as a solo. There's just some things you need to do, which I outline in my book. It's a workbook. You have to download it, fill in the blanks, work at it, answer the questions, let your mind wander and struggle and work a little bit on some of those answers and dig deep and set the direction. As Gina just said, be strong on vision and goals and flexible on details, and this is what the book will help you do. I'd love it if you would download a copy of the book and integrate it into your life to be a successful, financially flourishing solopreneurs. And also, tune in again next week for Solo Pro Radio, when we'll be talking with another solo or encore entrepreneur about their journey, just as we have done today. Thank you. I love having you on the program. Goodbye.